We're all on unique and different paths, but the goal is really the same for every human being. And it's ultimately to go through that uniqueness and that special path that we have through life, to find a place inside us where the heart is open, where there's love, and we truly attain through whatever our journey was, the highest states of what it means to be human on the earth. Human beings, happy people are enlightened people, people that live with compassion, with love, their hearts are open, they live in a state of surrender, they have tolerance and patience for other people and themselves. It's a state of enlightenment. It's the highest state that a human being can attain on the earth. And no matter what path we take, ultimately, if we truly want to have a spiritual life, it'll lead there. That's why everybody has to respect every other human being, because there aren't two people on this planet that are on the same path. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? So what I teach really is not about religion. Yeah, there's a lot of Hindu and Buddhist energy in it. Stems from the meditation practice, stems from ancient Hindu Buddhist practices. But it's all about becoming human. So it doesn't matter what one's religion is, what their, no, it's completely non-denominational. Their background is, they're rich, they're poor, what their race is, what it has nothing to do with the fact that deep inside each and every person, there are all these elements that are trying to get us to become human beings. And what does that mean? Living with an open heart, with love, tolerance, and at the same time having patience with all the bullshit that goes on in the world. You know, you read the media, and we're living in hell. I remember when I told you this, I was once asked that question at a Barnes and Noble book reading of one of my books that I did there, and somebody raised his hand and said, "Can you define hell?" So I kind of chuckled when I got that question. I said, yeah, tongue in cheek, I said to him, just turn on CNN. You will be instantly confronted with hell. You don't have to go to the underworld. You don't have to go to Hades or, cross some river to the underworld to find it. Just turn on your television set. Of course, I got a big laugh, but it's true. We create hell. We create heaven. We live with open hearts. We live with love. And what's going to radiate from us is truly Ananda, heaven. And it doesn't matter if people believe it, they don't believe it. The only thing that matters is that inside us there's this lightness of being, this love. And that gives us the patience for everybody else. Because whether it's in this lifetime or 50 lifetimes down the road, that's where the journey is going. And so it takes people a lot of lifetimes to recognize the journey they're on. Does anyone have a question? I would like to.
Stuart, this is Jan.
Yes, Jan.
So if I'm dealing with someone who is not conscious, is it better to do you have any suggestions on when to know whether or not it's better to actually sit down and talk with them or better to just work on myself?
Look, if you work on yourself, you will arrive at a place inside yourself that you will be able to have a conversation with an unconscious person. If you don't work on yourself, you're going to sit down and lecture them on the right way to live. And they're going to just spit it right back in your face. Who knows the right way to live? Who knows how to advise somebody else in the right way to live? None of us. Every human being is trying to find what their path is. If we grow inside and evolve inside, then the conversation is not from what we think is right, it comes from the heart. And people will connect with that. People will connect. And I think that this is an important thing, not only for you, Jan, it's for all of us. We need to learn this. Who knows the right way to live? And nobody. But when the heart is open, you can communicate with love, with allowing somebody else to be and not judging them, but giving them space to communicate with you. I mean, look, I'm sure you're tired of hearing that story. What happened in Big Indian with that guy, the manager of Big Indian, when I went up there to take 3 or 4 days to just rest. I asked Rudy, I said, I'm exhausted, Rudy. I was running a business, teaching hatha yoga, teaching Kundalini. I mean, my day was 18 hours a day. And I asked, can I go up to Big Indian and just take a break? He said, yes, dude, that's what it's for. Just go up there and relax. So I remember I went up there. I took a bus up there and walked up to the ashram and I took a room there and unpacked all my clothes. I looked out the window and I said, you can't just hang out in the room here. You got to do something here. So I looked out the window and there was like an acre backyard that had grass that was up to my waist. And there was a tractor there with a gizmo on the back that you could cut grass. I said, oh, shoot, there's something I can do. Make the ashram prettier, you know? So I went down, I got on this tractor, I started driving it, and I'm cutting grass and having a merry old good time doing this and seeing all my tension going into falling grass. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the manager of the ashram, a guy named Earl, who I really haven't seen in maybe 40 years, but he was a friend of mine at the time, he comes running across the ashram, screaming at me, yelling at me. And I did this, I'd been in there for 20 minutes and I had already done 50 things wrong. And it was, so I got off the train, stopped the train, got off, and we're standing there like nose to nose, And my usual response was to get into a fight with a guy like this, argue back and fight. I said, no, Stuart, keep your mouth shut. Just listen to him. He's just tense. And I did that for like 15 minutes. I listened to him. And I didn't fight with him. I didn't say a word. I just listened to him. And after he exhausted his tension, there were tears in his eyes. And he came up to me and he gave me a big hug and he said, thank you. Thank you. All he wanted was somebody to listen to him. He wanted, and I was strong enough in the situation not to be affected by his tension. Now, it's a much better way to communicate than to dictate to a person who's half mad at the moment how to live their life. All that's going to do is start a war. This was a major step in my own spiritual. When that happened, it really taught me something so important about how to live my life. I didn't know better than anybody else, but I could learn to be strong enough to listen to them and not be intimidated by their tension.
Thank you, Stuart. It's really helpful.
You're welcome. Question. Does anyone else have a question they would like to? Okay, if there are no more questions, there'll be meditation on Thursday. God bless you all. Thank you. I hope you all are growing as much from these classes as I am. I tell you, it's kind of a miracle to sit there. As hard as it is to do these classes on Zoom, and it really is not easy. They have contributed to such an enormous amount of inner growth and maturity in myself. And I just have to thank you all for being here. God bless you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Stuart.
you,
Thank you,
Stuart.
Stuart.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Stuart.
Thank you.